Sorry guys, just holding it up briefly to make sure that we are ready to go, and then we'll be with some.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to round 6 here in Group 2. Got some full qualifying action for you today, so something a little bit different to what you might be used to seeing here. So should be pretty interesting to see. Ooh, that's a new detail that I didn't know. That could have been useful. So we'll pull that up, and we'll pull that up. But yeah, again, welcome to another round of LSR League Racing action. Of course, this is one of our 2 scheduled full qualifying sessions. Of course, due to some attendance issues. Remember that I need to extend the microphone out so that you can hear me properly. But yesterday was supposed to be that with Group 1. However, just due to attendance, we decided not to go for it. So now we're back with full qualifying for the first time this season in Group 2, one of our 2 full qualifying sessions that we'll have this season. So, of course, still waiting for the first drivers to come out of the pits. So, standard qualifying session is Viper is reporting rain in 10 minutes. So, people are going to be piling out of the pit lane now, I'd assume. There's an Aston Martin, a Mercedes, and a Red Bull looking to pull out rather quickly. But 18-minute session, 15-minute session, and 12-minute final session should make for a very interesting Q1 is Viperize going to lead the way out of the pits. And, of course, you got that long run into what is technically the hairpin of Turn 3, best overtaking spot on the circuit after the technical Turn 2, right before the end of that Sector 1 timing marker. Of course, have a second DRS zone here in the run down into Turn 4. Again, seeing a couple incidents down here, specifically Hamilton and Albon being the biggest offenders. We'll jump to the Red Bull of Alcoholic, who as of right now should be the first to complete a lap. Turns 5 and 6. Definitely going to be interesting to see what everybody goes with in setup. I know that it's definitely possible to take those with a very slight dab on the brake, depending on what setup you're running, how much engine braking, and how much downforce you want to carry. And, of course, into the final 2 corners, and we'll get underway. So, again, track limits, certainly going to be something to watch out for during this game, as Alcoholic makes his first run up the hill into Turn 1. Of course, hard braking, going to be going through there about 4th gear. Really try and make sure you get as close out to that outside sausage as possible and get a good exit for that run up into Turn 2. Of course, getting hard on those brakes is 16-2 through that first sector. A little bit of an inside lockup, but seemingly good. And then that exit out of Turn 3, very important to try and finish overtakes or get a defense after an overtake, because Alcoholic actually judging that corner a little bit wrong and touching the grass. Down into Turn 4, and of course, going to want to utilize all of that track out to the right-hand side before you power down into the end of the middle sector. Of course, double left-handers now, 5, 6, and then I believe that's actually I think that's 6, 7 technically. But but of course coming into the final sector now, a little bit of traffic ahead for Alcoholic, but should stay out of the way as he comes through the final couple of corners. Again, got to be careful of those track limits on the outside, but powering towards the line, and the first time in Q1 is a 105.6. Viperize, though, quickly tops that with a 104.9. There's a Mercedes coming to the line next. That's going to be Awesome Gumball on a set of mediums, actually, putting up a 105.1. So potentially saving those tires for later. Dachal, 105.0. So getting that done as well. There's a McLaren coming to the line to start a lap. That's Oreo Hafrican. So we'll actually jump to that Mercedes on a lap. That's Strachosaur with DRS open. And so he's making his way through that second sector. Seemingly a bit of not a great exit out of there. Perhaps a little bit hesitant on the throttle, just from what it looked like. But seemingly very comfortable. 46.2 through the first two sectors. Of course, making his way through the lap. Up over the hill into the final two corners through that speed trap. Of course, we're not going to enforce pit entry super strictly. Of course, there's an incident we'll be able to see. Strachosaur, fifth quickest, 106.6. So potentially taking another setup lap. Alcoholic, though, coming to the line once again. He should be just starting a second lap, so perhaps taking a little bit extra fuel to get those tires in the operating window that he wants. But it's still Viperize on provisional pole. Oreo Hafrican is who will jump to, coming out of the final couple of corners now. The McLaren powering towards the line. Going to look a little bit slow, so 108.0, so he could, we could be seeing another push lap here from the McLaren, so we'll keep an eye on him. Awesome Gumball invalidated his lap, so he'll stay third. Alcoholic, meanwhile, through the first sector, slightly up. Seabird, of course, following pretty close behind, so we'll stay on board with a man who currently sits P4 as he makes his way towards that second timing marker. As he crosses that, not up much, still only about half a tenth. So let's see if he can pick up anything in that final sector as he makes his way over the hill. 12 minutes left to go in qualifying. If I'm not mistaken, it should be the bottom three eliminated here. So you just got to be better than 15th. As Alcoholic Gussie improves slightly, still up into fourth. But seemingly nobody else really on a push lap as it stands. Gumball on a cool-down lap. Stray Dog is on a bit of a lap, 16.2 through the first sector, so about matching Husky's pace. Jim on a lap as well. Number of cars getting prepped for their laps. So we'll jump to Stray Dog. We'll see how he can potentially try and finish Slap Strachosaur on a second lap. As currently sit, Jim jumps into sixth. Speedy Gunner jumps up into fifth on his set of mediums. Here comes Stray Dog out of the final corner. Runs a little bit wide, but manages to not get a lap invalidated. He'll jump up into P8. So currently in the drop zone, Kendros, who actually jumps up into ninth. So comfortable for him, but both Kick Saubers of Formula Jonah and Husky Gaming currently in the drop zone, as is Luke 2 Red. So a number of drivers that got to watch out for times there. Hamilton jumps up into sixth for Ferrari, so a good showing from him early. Viperize actually doesn't think that a 104.9 leaves him safe, so he'll head out on that used set of softs, try and slightly improve that lap and get a couple more under his belt. So jump to Husky Gaming's Kick Sauer, 45.1 through the first two sectors, coming into the final couple of corners now. No traffic ahead of him as he comes up into those final corners. Perhaps a little bit of a slide, but seemingly pretty comfortable. Blasts towards the line. That lap time good enough for fourth, so he'll supplant both Red Bulls for fourth. So that gets him safe and puts M Requiem and the Williams into the drop zone. So now we'll have to keep an eye on Formula Jonah. Of course, one of our league founders will have a lap time on the board, so that won't be an issue for him. So he'll be 14th. So it's Guardian Knight, M Requiem, Luke 2 Red, who I believe in the drop zone with 10 minutes left to go in the session. So we'll jump up to at least who would be on pole for the moment in Viperize in that Aston Martin as he makes his way through. We'll see if he can stretch that advantage at all, but Awesome Gumball Also looking pretty quick. Of course, does have Viperize asking coming up to him a little bit up on the curb for Viperize, and he's actually going to kill that lap. After that mistake, I think also got put off by Gumball slightly, who potentially just was looking to yield. Husky Gaming making his way through, so we'll jump to Formula Jonah, who's actually going to go to the gravel a little bit. Was 9 seconds up early on his first lap, but I think that gravel is going to kill a lot of momentum. So here comes in the final couple of corners. No, he's actually going to... he's going to stay out. But coming around the final couple of corners, potentially looking to go again, but blasts towards the line. Still, an improvement, puts him ahead of Oreo African, but still puts him 13th, so 9 minutes left to go in qualifying. So, of course, everybody looking to make their way back round to the pits. A couple of drivers on out laps. Luke to Red, meanwhile, only driver on a lap as of right now. As actually, we'll jump to Formula Jonah briefly. He is 7/10 down, so it's likely an in-lap from the kick sour. Here comes Luke to Red. That Alpine looking very aggressive out of that final corner, and he'll jump up into 13th. So Oreo African now down into the drop zone, joined by Guardian Knight and M Requiem as they look to continue to make their way. So Guardian Knight looking to get into safety, but Formula Jonah certainly is going to have to go back out. And I'd assume that a lap time to be safe should be somewhere around that 106.1. If I were to put a specific time on it, so we'll have to wait and see there. As again, nobody on out laps right now, but number of drivers coming out. Of course, there was rain predicted in about 3 minutes, so that could put a wrench into a number of drivers' plans. If we check an onboard, seemingly pretty bright and sunny from Guardian Knight's perspective, so we'll have to see if that rain does come at a later stage. But as it stands, Guardian Knight still with a chance. Speedy Gunner on a lap. He's just, I think, at this point, looking to get some extra laps in, especially with his best lap time so far being on the mediums. Down a little bit in the first sector, though. The tired compound not as big of a factor in that first sector. Jim 111 also on a lap as he's coming up to that second sector timing marker. He's actually up over 4.5 tenths, so currently sitting 12th. So very much on a quick lap. So here he comes up over the hill. Can he hold on to that advantage as he continues through the final couple of corners? 101 as he rounds that final corner. Power down and to the line. How much time can Jim gain? He'll gain half a second. So that puts him up into P9, so a good gain from him. Meanwhile, it's down in 16th. Guardian Knight making his way through the first two sectors. It's a 46.1 from him, as looking to get out of that drop zone. Again, should be 15th. You got to be 14th or better, if I'm not mistaken, to make sure that you don't get eliminated, as it's not going to be top 5. But 14th, I think, is guaranteed safety, as Guardian Knight jumps up into P13. So Formula Jonah now into the drop zone with Oreo African, who's out on a second lap, and M Requiem. Guardian Knight, though, certainly not safe yet. Stray Dog down about a quarter of a second as he makes his way across that first timing marker. Strakasaur on a bit of a setup lap. Jim down on his lap time. Hamilton was up. He's up into 6th now after picking up 3 tenths. Of course, you have to stay out of the way of that V-carb. But yeah, going to be down a second as he crosses that timing marker. But Gumball up slightly on his last lap. He's up into 3rd. Speedy Gunner, meanwhile, where we're looking at other drivers, jumps up into 2nd. So a good lap time from the Red Bull. But Oreo African up 3 tenths, but has backed off on that lap. So potentially a mistake at the hairpin of turn 3. And of course, we'll have to keep going here. M Requiem on an out lap. So drivers to keep an eye on. I'd certainly say everybody with worse than a 106.1 certainly at risk. I'd imagine that getting into those 105s certainly going to be the margin of safety for getting in to Q2, as we have just over 5 minutes left remaining. So stay on board with currently the driver, who I believe is at the top of that drop zone, is Awesome Gumball, goes quickest with a 104.4. But Formula Jonah down 2 tenths through the first sector, so potentially looking to hold on to those tires for a later lap, but powering now down into turn 4, getting really tight to that inside, and then of course you're going to want to run that car all the way back to the left to really open up this turn 4 hairpin, carry that momentum through, and just keep it going. A little bit of a bump on that outside curb, but he's going to need to pick up a lot of time, and of course we saw him make a mistake here on the inside, going to really attack those curbs, up a 10th now. So how much time can Formula Jonah gain in that final sector? Of course, that neon kicks over. Luke to red certainly on the bubble as it stands. Again, not sure how many drivers will be eliminated at the end of Q1, but I would assume it to be 3. Here comes Formula Jonah to the line. That lap time only good enough for 13th. It's a 106.4 from him. Pushes Luke to red into danger. Oreo African up half a second. Here he comes to the line. Not good enough, even though he picked up a second. It's only a 107.1 from the McLaren. Here comes M. Requiem to the line, but he invalidated. So certainly a big loss from him, and that was a 107.0, so he's not safe either. So Luke to red currently at risk, but on the lap, up slightly through that first sector. And of course, coming up here now to sector 2. As he crosses that marker, he's up 4/10, so Luke to red flying, looking to put Guardian Knight at risk. Up over the hill now. Can he hold on to it for just a couple of more corners? Give himself the chance at safety. A little bit loose there out of that final corner, but holds on to that Alpine to the line. That lap time good enough for 10th, so Luke to red with a great lap time to put himself right into the fight between Strakasaur and Jim. So Guardian Knight now at risk. He's going to have to come out with 3 minutes left to go. Oreo having to do another setup lap. M. Requiem on a push lap. He's right behind him. A little bit of traffic up ahead, but it seems that the Williams is pushing. And Oreo going to follow him as they start another lap. We look to get underway, and it's a big mistake from M. Requiem. He's going to lose that lap and more as he spins out of that final corner. So the Williams certainly in danger now. Oreo African as well. Going to be at risk. We'll stay on board with him. See what he gets as he crosses that first sector timing marker. He's down 1.8 seconds, so potentially taking another prep lap as time winds down. Seabird on the lap. Jim on a lap. He doesn't feel he's safe. Up slightly through the first 2 sectors. Here he comes to the line. That lap time good enough for P9 as he picks up a 10th. Just tries to push himself that little bit closer to safety. Luke to red as he crosses that second sector timing marker. Again, it's just taking that second setup lap with 4 minutes left to go. Seabird up about a 10th through that first sector. He doesn't think he's safe. Strakasaur actually going to retire from the session. He does not think he will improve. And he thinks a 106.0 makes him safe. Here comes Seabird to that second sector timing marker. Up about matching his time. Again, really avoiding that curb, but chucking that V-carb into that corner. So we'll see if tire wear could be a factor for him. As here he comes through the final couple of corners. Big twitch there, and he's actually going to run wide and lose that lap. So Seabird looks like that best time going to be a 106.1. So it looks like it's going to be a showdown between these 4. Guardian Knight, Oreo African, M. Requiem, and Formula Jonah as Guardian Knight up through Sector 1. Oreo invalidated that lap, so he's going to have to really hustle that car around if he wants another shot. M. Requiem going to dive into the pits, so M. Requiem out of qualifying. So that now leaves us with 3. Guardian Knight up 2/10 through Sector 1. Of course, coming through to Sector 2 now. Formula Jonah looking to get a lap started as well. Stray Dog doesn't think he's safe. Could Seabird also not be safe, depending on how much everybody improves? Guardian Knight up 3/10 through 2 sectors. And, of course, 2 corners left to go now. So who will be in the drop zone? Of course, we won't really know until the end of qualifying where that drop zone is. So here comes the Ferrari of Guardian Knight. Likely that last lap of the session is not going to have enough time to recover ERS. He comes to the line. He's going to jump all the way up into 9th, 105.8 from Guardian Knight. So he picked up a load of time. So Formula Jonah now at risk, picked up a 10th in that first sector. Oreo African, we'll jump to him briefly, see if he can get around to start another lap. 20 seconds on the clock, so he certainly will. Guardian Knight actually out of the session, and that's actually going to put him 15th with the crash. So Guardian Knight, I think, out of the session because it looked like a crash there, and Formula Jonah up 2/10 and change. So I think Guardian Knight potentially, because he didn't get back around, that is the end of qualifying. So here comes Formula Jonah to the line. He'll be the first of these cars fighting for safety. Formula Jonah, what's the benchmark going to be? He's going to go 10th into the 106s. 105.998 is the benchmark. Seabird down in the first sector. Stray Dog didn't see that first sector time, but he's still pushing. And, of course, he is the Ferrari of Hamilton behind him. Oreo is actually going to abort that lap, so his qualifying's over. So Guardian Knight, Oreo African, and M. Requiem, if I'm not mistaken, look to be the 3 cars out of this session. There's Oreo African. Yeah, Oreo African's going to crash and retire, so he's out. So, of course, we'll just be keeping an eye on Stray Dog and Seabird. As Hamilton out of the session, he's crashed. I don't know if these drivers realize that crashing their cars instead of going around and retiring them in the pits is actually dropping them positions and putting them at further risk now. As Stray Dog does invalidate that lap, so as he comes across the line, he will finish 13th. So it's time to see who is eliminated from this first qualifying session. And it's starting from 14th. So Hamilton and Guardian Knight, despite having faster times, because they crashed, are still eliminated. So big mistakes from the Ferraris, as they'll have to start from 14th to 15th. Oreo will be 16th. M. Requiem will be 17th. But everybody else is through. So again, just big mistakes and not knowing how the game works is what's going to end up dooming the 2 Turks to going out in qualifying 1. And so that means it'll be 3 drivers eliminated from Q2 to give us our final 10-car shootout here in Q3. And now the rain, of course, is falling here in Austria. Of course, we will have an 18th driver for the full race in Rostamol, which, if you'll excuse me, I can invite. And, of course, here comes the first couple of cars making their way out onto circuit. It's going to be an Aston Martin led by a Mercedes once again. Here comes Stray Dog out of the pits, but changing conditions now. As we move into qualifying 2, of course, 15 minutes for drivers to get adapted with these conditions. And Viperize, once again, first out of the pits. So once again, Viperize going to be the first to set a lap. We'll actually jump on board with the Aston Martin as he makes his way through. As if you'll excuse me, I'm just trying to confirm that Rastamol can get in. But we'll stay on board with Viperize throughout this lap, just try and see how different this circuit is. Of course, those green-walled intermediates going to be on everybody's cars. But it'll be really interesting to see tactics here, because of course that run up into turn 1 going to be pretty different here, as you know, going to have to drop an extra gear to get that car slowed down enough. And of course, getting on the power going to be very, going to have a decent challenge, of course, with the limited traction. But getting the power down well here, as I realized also that the lap data is not available, so we'll throw that out. But of course, now you got the run down into turn number 4. And of course, that little bit of understeer, because again, you're going to want to get that car going all the way out, but oversteer on the brakes, understeer on the power is going to be that big issue. But here comes Viperize, of course, got a whole host of cars behind him, as everybody out on track, all 13 drivers. So bottom 3 will be eliminated. So Viperize, again, really fighting that Aston Martin all the way around the circuit. There it comes into the final two corners now. Again, that car very slidey, so I think it's looking like a dry race. So drivers are really trying to have to, struggle with these conditions in order to keep going. And it's a 1:13.8 is the benchmark. 1:14.2 from Strakasaur, 1:13.1 from Speedy Gunner, 1:13.8 from Stray Dog. Here comes Alcoholic Alliance, only a 1:14.6. So not a great lap time from him. As if you'll excuse me, I'll also go ahead and turn off notifications real quick, so that way that's all good. Apologies. Though it is good to see B. Tom, the Group 1 winner yesterday, is Awesome Gumball, 1:12.6. So a good lap time from the Mercedes to put him top. And so this is also pretty from the Jonah 1:14.8 as well as number of drivers on second laps. We'll jump on board. We'll jump on with DeChal. But yeah, as I was saying, this will be also a good test to see how much downforce all our drivers are running. Awesome Gumball potentially looking at the highest downforces. DeChal joins his teammate of Seabird as they sit 6th and 7th. So Jim, Husky Gaming, Luke 2 Red all on laps. Luke 2 Red, though, leads the way of that group, making his way through Sector 2. 51.5 there. He continues to make his way around, so he'll be next across the line. Speedy Gunner and Viperize dive into the pits. Awesome Gumball, meanwhile, stays out, potentially taking a little bit more fuel, trying to keep those inters in the window that he wants, despite the higher fuel load. So we could see that lap time drop even further. A bit of a slide out of that final corner from Luke 2 Red. The man currently sitting in the drop zone will jump up into 10th, so not safe completely as it stands. Still at risk on that bubble. Of course, here he comes now across the line. Jim, only good enough for 11th. Formula Jonah jumps up into 7th. Husky Gaming are now around the final corner into the line. And after the first set of laps, it's Kendricks, Luke 2 Red, and Jim in the drop zone. So starting at that 1:14.6. So drivers on the bubble. Alcoholic Husky on the bubble. Seabird not too far off that bubble as well. So we'll jump on board with the bubble boy in Alcoholic. So if you'll excuse me. Race is supposed to be partly dry per Viperize, so potentially looking at a change here. So if you'll excuse me, just trying to invite Rostamol. But here comes Alcoholic around the final couple of corners now. And of course, again, these inner conditions are very tricky. As you can see, a big slide there from the Red Bull. Comes to the line, that lap time good enough for 4th, so a big improvement there from Alcoholic, picking up 8/10 and jumping himself up into much more safety. Luke 2 Red not really on a push lap, nor is Jim. I think the Aston Martin looking to dive into the pits here, which he will. So Jim and so the Aston Martin of Jim at the bottom right now, and then Luke 2 Red and Kendricks in the middle. But yeah, I think if we're looking at a safe lap time, I think if you're under a 14, you're looking pretty close to safe. Though, of course, still a lot of time to go. A lot of things that could change here with 8.5 minutes to go in qualifying. So excuse me, just trying to communicate with Rastamol as a number of drivers look to dive into the pits. Luke 2 Red, though, still on a lap, so we'll stay on board with him. Of course, not as energetic when it is that single qualifying session. But should, of course, still be interesting if you're interested in potentially some more commentary. Then I hope you'd be interested in some potentially NFL commentary over on my personal YouTube channel at youtube.com/@theVacantHaddock, or @VacantHaddock, VACANTHADDOCK. So definitely give that a look, as here comes Luke 2 Red to the line. That lap time good enough for 6th. So puts him up into safety into the 1:13s. So I think if you're Strakasaur or below, you're potentially still at risk. A bunch of the top drivers are still going out trying to get accustomed to these conditions. Alcoholic matching his lap time through Sector 1 just about. His teammate Speedy Gunner right behind him. course, the Red Bulls looking together, possibly trying to give each other a slight tow. See if they can continue forward. Kendrick's the only driver in the drop zone. Currently on a lap, at least on track. And of course, making his way through. Out of danger yet, but he's up about 2.5 tenths. As Speedy Gunner goes to the top with a 1:12.2. So good laps from the Red Bull teammates as they sit 1 and 3 in the tricky conditions. But here comes Seabird to the line, as it looks like this track's starting to dry up. 1:13.6 for Seabird. But yeah, if we look at this track, the rain has stopped. So how quickly is this track gonna dry out? Number of drivers looking to dive into the pits now. 6 minutes left to go. If we take a look behind, there's not really any spray coming off these tires. So is it time for dry tires as it sits? We'll go ahead and switch the detail back to just the tire graphic as Husky Gaming is slapped on a set of softs. As these inners continue to get quicker, it's a 1:11.4 from Awesome Gumball, but that could add a very big wrinkle to who goes out, as we could see 13 drivers all just vying to try and get laps in on a drying surface. As if you look behind these cars, there is no spray coming off of the backs. So is it time for slicks? I think that's going to be the question everybody's going to be asking. Alcoholic to the line does not improve. Kendrick is 6th. Dechal was the one with the improvement. He jumped up into 5th. But a number of drivers diving into the pits, and definitely keep an eye on that Kick Sauber in the drop zone of Husky Gaming. He on slicks. Formula Joe, his teammate, though, on an outlap on Inter. So split strategies for the Kick Sauber garage. Strakasaur, meanwhile, on the bubble, but it's Husky Gaming, Formula Jonah, and Jim in the drop zone with under 5 minutes to go. And Luke 2 Red opting for slicks. So 2 drivers in the pits looking at slick tires. So we'll have to see what the game plan is as all these drivers look to dive in. Viper Eyes up in 3rd goes to slicks. As already looking to dive into the pits, a Mercedes staying out. Is that No, that is not Gumball. That's his teammate of Strakasaur actually staying out. Both Red Bulls as well staying out, which is a bit of a surprise as Alcoholic jumps up into 2nd and is quickly supplanted by his teammate. So they could sit 2nd and 3rd at a 1:11. 5 minutes till rain again, but that's not by the end of the session, so Q3 could likely be the same. So what is the call here? Is it to keep those inters on for if that rain starts to sprinkle? As Seabird is going to be the first driver out on track on slicks. DRS has now been enabled, so it certainly is slick time. So what the Red Bulls made a massive error now. Could the Red Bulls be at major risk? Strakasaur at risk. Stray Dog at risk, though he is in the pits. But everybody out on inters could be in a really bad situation as under 3 minutes to play in the 3 minutes to go in the session. And here comes a number of drivers out of the pits. 1:14.1 is the current cutoff. And of course, Strakasaur diving into the pits. Both Red Bulls, of course, are going to be really mistiming it here as they're going to have to stack. So Alcoholic, so Speedy Gunner are going to be at massive risk now as both Red Bulls will not be able to pit at the same time, or they will not be put in the pits at the same time as Stratting is back. So I can try to get him in. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but both Red Bulls at serious risk of being eliminated. Seabird, meanwhile, is on a lap, purple first sector, so definitely slick tire track, and of course, with DRS enabled, he's going to get a nice tow from his teammate. So the Red Bulls, could both Red Bulls at this point go out of the session? as Seabird coming up to that second sector timing marker. As he crosses there, up 2.4 seconds, so Seabird certainly looking to go top of the order. So the big question, did the Red Bulls leave enough time to dive into the pits and still get around and get enough laps in to give themselves a shot? As Seabird going to be first across the line, so it's going to be really a crapshoot who goes through. 109.6 for Seabird, so that's the new top of the order. Jim up a second as he makes his way through Sector 1. Formula Jonah and Husky Gaming currently working on it. Formula Jonah up 4 seconds on his first lap time. So who knows who could go through in this Q2 session. And of course, it's going to be the bottom 3 dropped as we make our way into the final portion of qualifying. Formula Jonah to the line. Goes top, 108.4, now the top mark. Jim coming around the final corner and to the line. Not going to top him, but 108.7, so he goes top. So that puts another couple drivers into the drop zone. Here comes Husky as Arstrading not able to join. Awesome Gumball goes quickest, 106.5. Husky Gaming goes second. When you accept, it does nothing. I don't know if you have Dechal. I would say ask him for an invite. If you can, I would say that's probably the best way to go about it. As Dechal actually goes third, so that leaves Strakasaur in the drop zone. Viperize now close to being at risk. Stray Dog down in his first lap. Under 30 seconds left to go in Q2, so Stray Dog will get another lap. Alcoholic and Speedy Gunner both on laps, but this will be their only go at it. As Strading has joined, so we do have him in. Both Red Bulls now at serious risk of going out. Jim still at risk of going out. Strakasaur has invalidated, so Strakasaur will be the first out of qualifying 2. So Strakasaur, his day is done. Stray Dog is on a lap, up 1.2 seconds through the first 2 sectors. Alcoholic Husky, though, on the bubble, as on the edge right now, as is his teammate of Speed Gunner. Strakasaur is out. Awesome Gumball doesn't think he'll improve. Jim doesn't think he can improve, but he's only in P9. Here comes Alcoholic to the line. That lap time good enough for third, so Alcoholic safe for the moment. Speedy Gunner up 3.8 seconds. Can he hold on? Stray Dog only up 1-2. He's now up 4-9, so he's still pushing. So Jim at serious risk. Here comes Speedy Gunner through the final couple of corners. Can he keep it within the track limits? Kendricks goes quickest, 106.0. Here comes Speedy to the line to put Jim out of qualifying. He'll go quickest. So he is safe. Here comes a Stray Dog around the final corner of the line. Can he push Luke 2 Red in the drop zone? He will. So Luke 2 Red also will pull into the pits. So it's Luke 2 Red, Jim, and Strakasaur all out in qualifying 2. Dechal just barely safe. But it's the Alpine, the Aston Martin, and the Mercedes all out. The Red Bulls cutting it tight at the end, but managing to finish first and sixth. And it's Formula Jonah second, Kendricks third as we move into the final qualifying session. So very tight in these changeable conditions. And so, of course, plenty of time left to go as in the interim, look to get an additional driver in Breakfast King. But it looks like we should have one more driver coming in. But Speedy Gunner, top of the order. Yeah, it is Speedy Gunner at the top by a 10th. And of course, it's by but 300ths that Luke 2 Red drops instead of Dechal. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens as we move in to Q3. And of course, Strakasaur not getting a lap in on slicks. Going to be a big loss from him there too. But P13 certainly still gives him a shot at moving up the grid. So much shorter qualifying session now, only 12 minutes. And plenty of time left to go. As I look to my right, the rain falling once again. As I do look to my right and get a nice view of Renegade down at Heinz Field. as we move into the top 10 shootout in the rain once again. 12 minutes on the clock. Oh, wait, did I miss a Steeler touchdown? Or is that a field goal? Sorry, I'm calling both games. As I'm trying to see what exactly the score is in Steelers-Chargers. It is 13-10 Steelers as we move into the fourth. Good to know. All right. But once again, it is wet. Let's see how wet still enters as everybody looks to make their way out. Viper is actually not first out on track this time. That'll go to Formula Jonah. But as we move into the final session, let's see who comes out on top with that pole position. As one sec, doing admin stuff. There we go. As we do get Breakfast King in, so I believe that should give us a full set of 20 drivers for this race. As the Vikings beating up on the Texans 21-7. But it's going to be Formula Jonah to set the benchmark this time round. As DeChal and Viperize opting to stay in the pits in these early stages, as I think they sort out other issues. But it gives us time to jump on board with the YouTuber, with the endurance racing content creator. As I also realize I don't have lap data up, so we'll do that as well. But first across that Sector 1 timing marker, and of course, good exit there from Jonah, as he makes his way now down into Turn 4. Oh, as that's the wrong button, but and that's the wrong button as well. We've been in qualifying for so long that I don't really know what I'm doing. But yeah, if we jump on board, a little bit of a twitch there from Jonah. But as you can see, not looking to clear up anytime soon, but we'll have to definitely keep an eye on just how much rain there is throughout this race. Heard you're doing free advertisement now. Where's yours? Nowhere, because we don't... Because alcoholism is... No, but Alcoholic Husky, of course, on Twitch, got a smaller channel. I know a number of drivers here stream, but I do advertisements for myself, and since Jonah's big, I definitely shot that out. 114.2 for Formula Jonah is going to be that benchmark. So I'll have to see where the lap times fall in behind him. Kendricks, Sonny Medland, we're doing well so far into the top 10 shootout as Kendricks goes quicker. It's a 1:14.0 as a Mercedes coming to line behind him. That's Awesome Gumball going much quicker. It's a 1:11.6 from him. Seberg slots into second as it stands. The other Kick Sauber of Husky Gaming goes second, right behind Awesome Gumball, who really dominating 2 seconds quicker as it stands. Stray Dog 6 with a 1:14.6, and Aston Martin of Viperize looking to start his lap. But all 10 drivers out on track now. Speedy Gunner, of course, on a lap. Formula Jonah on a second lap. Let's see, he's up about half a second, so taking an extra lap to get going. And looking to get that lap time to drop. Of course, no eliminations this time. This will decide our top 10. But Formula Jonah looking to improve that starting position. Was up half a second through the first 2 sectors. That lap time good enough for fourth. 1:13.7 from him as he looks to continue to push. Speedy Gunner going to be next across the line for Red Bull. That lap time good enough for second, so 1:12.5. So certainly closes that gap with Awesome Gumball, which will go to the leader gap as of now. The Viperize, of course, on a push lap. I think taking a second lap to get those tires into the right condition that it'll want, though. As that Williams out ahead, getting out of the way. Alcoholic starts a lap. DeChal starts a lap. We'll actually go back to fast lap as here comes Viperize out of the final corner and on that push to the line. Good enough for third. So second row, 13-2, jumps ahead of Husky Gaming as it stands, Seabird up early in the lap. Stray Dog down on his second lap, so we'll see what happens when he goes again. Alcoholic, of course, making his way round, but we'll jump back to Formula Jonah. Quarter of a second in it, but going to be out of fuel as of this point, so he'll dive into the pits. So we'll jump back to the Red Bull of Speedy Gunner, also down 2.2 seconds on his first lap time of the session. Again, I think just potentially looking at another warm-up lap. So again, we'll jump back to him. Viperize, 4.6 seconds down through Sector 1. So we'll keep an eye on him. But Seabird up over a 10th through 2 sectors. 10th in it between him and Husky. And of course, just slightly ahead of Jonah and going to be wanting to improve that advantage. As here comes Seabird to the line as TJ Watt picks up a sack. Seabird, though, improves, but only marginally. Alcoholic Husky, 7th quickest. So solid lap from him. DeChal, meanwhile, jumps up into 3rd with a 1:13.2. So good lap from the V-Carb driver to put him just ahead of Viperize by about half a tenth. Let's see if any drivers are on big push laps. Alcoholic Husky seemingly not. We'll jump on board. Can't see a Delta on the Red Bull car, but of course we'll have to wait and see. But Stray Dog currently at the bottom. Did improve his lap time by about a quarter of a second, but still sits 10th. So I think a number of drivers probably looking to dive into the pits here. Speedy Gunner, though, up slightly through first 2 sectors, but is about out of fuel. Looks like he'll continue. And he's actually going to invalidate, so he's going to have to trundle that Red Bull all the way back around to the pits to get some more fuel. But 5 minutes left to go in qualifying. It's certainly Awesome Gumball and Speedy Gunner 1-2. It's Gumball, though, with a sizable advantage. Over a second between him and Speedy Gunner. Viper is actually opting for wets. Strachosaur wanting Gumball as a permanent teammate. Of course, as he currently sits on pole. We'll have to wait and see. Only a couple of cars out on track. Speedy Gunner, of course, trundling his way back around the pits out of fuel. Kendrick's actually on an out lap, so looking to get some free air. As taking a look at it, looks like Viperize was actually just checking the Delta with those wets. But the rain continuing to fall here. Though, is it getting worse is the question. And did Awesome Gumball time it right, getting that great lap time in early in order to give himself that big advantage? Of course, everybody coming back into the pits. So Kendrick's the only one on the lap and the only one who can do a push lap. He'll get fresh, clean air for his main lap of the session. Seabird looking at a set of slicks. Certainly with this rain falling, that's not going to be an option. But Kendrick's coming up to that first sector timing marker. Under 4 minutes to go here in Q3. He's down a 10th, so not a great exit out of turn 2. Let's see how much time he can pick up in those final couple of sectors. As again, rain continuing to fall, so not looking like we'll have slicks again. But a lot of the grid opting for that fresh set of intermediate compound tires. I just realized I still have shoes on, so I'm going to take them off. But here comes Kendrick's through that middle portion of the circuit. As a number of drivers also coming out. Alcoholic Husky on track. One of the Kick Saubers is coming out on track. But Kendrick's still down, so 2/10. So I think potentially taking another setup lap. Just doing everything he can to get those tires into the right operating windows. I just bumped my controller. But here he comes through the final couple of corners now. Of course, currently sits 9th. But that 14.0, not necessarily a representative lap time. Here he comes to the line. Not going to improve. Still sits 9th. So we'll stick with him as he comes up to that first sector timing marker. Going to dodge the traffic coming out of the pits. But again, we'll keep an eye, see if he is pushing any harder this time around. 2.5 minutes left to go. This time, though, as he hits that first sector timing marker, up a 10th. So Kendrick's potentially finding a little bit extra pace now. So running down now into turn number 4. Of course, a number of drivers just getting laps started. Alcoholic Husky, I think, actually spinning out of the final corner. He's down a front wing, so he probably is not going to improve from P8, as that entire front wing is gone. So that's likely the end of Alcoholics qualifying, as he was looking to try and maximize that exit to start another lap. So that's very bad from him. Kendricks, though, meanwhile, matching that first lap time through 2 sectors. So can he pull out any magic in this final sector? Going to have to really send it if he wants to get that improvement. Attacking that curve on the inside unsettles that car quite a bit, but going to be able to hold on to it. Out the final corner, 1.5 minutes left to go in qualifying. Not going to is going to improve, but not enough to gain any positions. Formula Jonah on a lap. Husky Gaming is on an out lap. Viperize on a push. He's up about 0.5 tenth through Sector 1. Seabird, similarly, Seabird about matching his time, 13.6, so currently sits in 6th. Formula Jonah down 0.2 through Sector 1. Alcoholic, of course, is going to have to dive into the pits. Stray Dog, though, staying in, so he'll start 10th. So who's going to start at the head of the field? Husky Gaming up 1/10 through Sector 1. Though he's going to have to find a lot of time if he wants to take pole position. Or at this point, this could just be a battle for P2. As Awesome Gumball, your current pole sitter, looking to get his lap started. Behind him, though, Formula Jonah did invalidate, so he'll have another shot. He'll have a final shot at putting a lap together as he starts his lap. The Alcoholic Husky, his qualifying session is over. Viperize goes up into 3rd. DeChal on an out lap. He'll get started with 26 seconds left to go. So will Husky Gaming should be the last to cross, or should be the first, to cross the line. The Alpina Kendricks ahead, moving slowly out of fuel, so he'll dive into the pits. Here comes Husky Gaming. 10 seconds, 9-8. Has he timed it right to potentially give himself a final chance? That's an Aston Martin wide. That's Viperize, who will not get a better lap from 3rd. Husky Gaming to the line will finish 5th. Husky, Kendricks, and Stray Dogs qualifyings are over. So they will not improve from 7th, 8th, and 9th. Speedy Gunner up 1/4 second through 2 sectors. Can he pick up anything in the final sector? He'll gain 0.3, but currently will start no better than 2nd. Here comes the Mercedes, who will be next to the line. It's Gumball, your provisional pole sitter, up 1.5 through 2 sectors. Just a couple of corners left to go. Out of the final corner now. Here he comes to the line, a little bit loose, so going to lose some time there. But I think with that 6/10 advantage, it's not going to matter. He's going to spin out. Isn't going to improve, but at 1:15.6, is that going to be good enough? Here comes a kick. Sauber to the lines. Formula Jonah. He's not going to improve from 7th as he invalidated. DeChal coming around the final couple corners now, up 0.3 through 2 sectors. Can he jump ahead of Viperize? Potentially ahead of Speedy Gunner. Here he comes the line. He'll jump up into 3rd, so he'll start from the 2nd row. Husky Gaming is down, so he won't improve. Seabird, potentially, can he join his teammate on the 2nd row? He won't. He'll start behind him from 5th. That will be your top 10. It'll be Awesome Gumball starting from pole. It'll be followed by Speedy Gunner and DeChal, Viperize, Seabird, the kicks of Husky and Jonah, Alcoholic Kendricks, and Stray Dog will be your top 10. Of course, going to be 36 laps of racing here in Austria to go. So definitely going to be interesting to see how that continues and how all the other drivers from qualifying, as well as some of those newcomers in Breakfast King and R-Stratting and others, try to get this race going. As we did lose Oreo, so certainly going to try to get him back in before the start of the race, as he did disconnect. So just trying to get him back into the session. He's not showing online, so I think he's got to reset his game if he is listening, or if anybody with him is listening. Oreo does have to reset his game to get underway. But looking at 36 laps of racing left to go, so should be a quick one. Only looking about a 40 to 45 minute race time. But Seabird certainly happy with that P5, but Gumball was a dominant showing here in wet Austria. And it does look like, in fact, we do have a full set of 20 drivers. So it does look like R-Stratting, Breakfast King, and Rostamol will all be racing. And of course, for all of those who are full-time drivers, they will certainly get their full-time seat for points for that team. So important thing to remember as this continues. I'll check to see. Viper is saying it will be wet later in the race. So again, drivers getting some practice with those wet conditions early on here, as we will try to get Oreo African back into the session. Of course, his car will be in AI in those early stages. So that'll be the only downside for him as we look to get into the race. Steelers scored a touchdown. Let's go. Calvin Austin on the board. So definitely good to see my team go up 2 scores. We are getting set here for the formation lap. But yeah, full 20 drivers. So Rostamo, LSR Stratting, and Breakfast King, of course, missing qualifying, will have to start from the back. But definitely going to be an interesting race. We'll take a look quickly at tire choices. It's hards and mediums across the field. And especially depending on how you drive, those mediums can fall off very quickly. The rear tires going to be very important to how this race pans out. So take a look at the possible strategies. 2 stops, actually, certainly, 2 stops, certainly a possibility here. Though I don't see it happening too much. It actually was a long touchdown from Calvin Austin, so I'll take that. That was what, from 48? So let's go there. So very happy with that. But yeah, mediums certainly going to fall off rather quickly. Those hards have a very long lifespan, so don't be surprised to see some early pitters off those medium compound tires. A couple of drivers very slow off the grid. And Stratting and Breakfast King seemingly struggling to get going. As this is really questionable from Stratting. Oreo leaving the session once again is you can't take control of your car on the formation lap, so I think that's some of the issue. Stratting, what was Stratting doing there? That was going into a braking board. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, as I'm also getting a bunch of chat flashing on screen. So can't fully see everything. Of course, everybody looking to pull up to get underway. Of course, Gumball looking set to get parked up. So we'll see if we'll try to see to make sure everybody gets parked up correctly. Of course, both Haas is going to be last to the line. Stray Dog parks up poorly. So does Seabird from 5th. And of course, we're just waiting on Rostamol parks up poorly. So now we're just waiting on Breakfast King. Of course, coming to the line very slowly. Again, Oreo leaving the session because he can't take control, even though that's not the issue. It's that you can't take control on the formation lap. But we are looking to get back underway. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 lights. Lights out and underway here in Austria. It's a really poor getaway from Gumball. It's a great getaway from Speedy, who takes the lead up into turn 1 very comfortably. DeChal in 3rd, Seabird in 4th. The Kick-Saubers jump up a couple of spots. Viper Eyes falling way down the order. He got, I think, turned there. So we'll have to see what happens, but it's Speedy with the lead here early. Straight on getting Jim battling. Strachosaur and Luke 2 Red battling as it gets very tight there. That's a Ferrari off. That's Hamilton, I think, getting tagged, but Speedy Gunner still with the lead. There's a Kick-Sauber of Formula Jonah looking to make a move on Seabird as they go side-by-side through turn 4. Great move from him to take over. So Formula Jonah up into 4th on those mediums, which of course will come up into temperature much more nicely. Stratting already up into 12th. Breakfast King into 14th. Oreo Hafrican moving up the order, so I think he did get back. So of course, taking a look, is he still ghosted? He is, so I'll try to invite him again, and hopefully he can retake control. At this point, as he's actually switched to ACC, so he's quit. So Oreo will not receive any points. Speedy Gunner, though, 2/10 advantage over Gumball as they make their way up into turn 1. It's Red Bull versus Mercedes at the front once again. DRS is activated, and it's the front 3 starting to make a getaway. Here comes Awesome Gumball to the inside of Speedy Gunner. He'll have that move comfortably done, but this battle not over yet. Strachosaur and Jim swapping places. Stratting up into 10th, you can see there in the background. So Haas absolutely flying here. Seabird once again getting Formula Jonah, but will stay with this lead battle. And Requiem and Guardian Knight diving into the pits, but it's going to be DRS open for Speedy Gunner as they blast down into turn 4, but that straight line speed of Awesome Gumball just too much. So it's Awesome Gumball retaking this lead on lap number 2. Formula Jonah, meanwhile, back in 4th, has managed to re-overtake Seabird. He's up into 4th. Alcalacasi, of course, right on the tail of this battle in 8th. Stratting all the way up into 10th now. So that Haas, very quick here in the early stages, now looking to chase down Stray Dog, try and get back into DRS range. We'll see what happens. And of course, all those drivers without those extra quali laps going to be in a better position, as they'll have a couple of more sets of tires should they need it. But it's Awesome Gumball with a 7/10 advantage as we make our way into lap number 3. Speedy Gunner running a bit wide in the background, so that's going to put him at a track limits penalty and potentially now under threat from DeChal, who's trying to chase him down. But it's a 2-second gap from the front 3 back to Formula Jonah. Seabird going to his inside as they make the run up into turn 3. Jonah not going to battle it too much. Look to try and get him here on the exit of the hairpin. Going to take a peek to the inside. Going to get to the inside. Is going to be briefly ghosted, but DRS is going to be open on the Kick-Sauber. Great exit from Jonah. He's going to dump a good chunk of battery. Here comes his teammate of Husky Gaming. That's 2 Kick-Saubers getting a position in a corner, but Seabird going to be brave on the brakes. Try and fight around the outside. They'll continue to stay side by side. Right, of course, Seabird on those medium tires, so he can afford a little bit more grip. He'll have the inside for the next 2 corners as they continue to battle. And Husky looking to help his teammate of Jonah, not quite able to get back ahead. So it's Seabird staying in 5th. Meanwhile, up the front, it's still Gumball with a comfortable lead. It's at about half a second. Of course, Speedy and DeChal still coming at him. DeChal taking a peek to the inside, going to think better of it. And so now they'll run up into turn number 3. Speedy Gunner, though, with a quarter of a second gap this time around. Going to look to the inside. Going to be look to be defended by Gumball as they come up the hill. Is he going to be brave on the brakes? No, he's going to defend it. DeChal, though, looking around the outside. Breakfast King looking to get it done. Going to have to think better of it. Speedy Gunner, though, good exit there out of turn number 4. Going to run down the hill, not quite going to find it. Formula Jonah this time is the one out, actually, who is DRS once again able to defend. There's Kendricks looking around the outside of 2 drivers. Is he going to get 2 in one corner? Now it's going to be him and Seabird side by side. Kendricks with the inside now. And Seabird with a little bit of switcheroo. Kendrick's great move. Seabird continuing to look around the outside, but he gets that move done. He's up into P5, so a really nice move there from Kendrick. Seabird, though, coming up to his rear to his gearbox, but Kendrick's with a nice move there into T4. Meanwhile, both Hasses, at least on track, up into 9th and 10th into the points. Viperize has managed to clear everybody after his first lap incident, so now he's got some potential clean air if he can break away from Luke to Red to potentially go chasing after a couple of drivers. But lap 5, and Awesome Gumball still has a lead. It's now up to a 6/10 advantage as we make our way into turn 3 once again. And so these front 3 just continuing to pull away as Formula Jonah now up ahead. Kendricks almost having a dive to the inside from Seabird, but he thinks better of it. So now can Kendricks take the move in this 5-way fight for P4? Stray Dog pulling up to the fight, and you can see the Haas of Stratting there in the background just looking to benefit from it. M. Requiem, 3-second time penalty as Hamilton overtakes the AI of Oreo Haprican. But it's Formula Jonah still comfortably ahead, and so Kendrick's going to look to chase him down. It's up over the hill. It's still a 6/10 advantage, so Gumball looking very comfortable. Viperize waiting for it to get more grip. As for some reason, every time somebody sends a message, I'm seeing like 4 all at once. It is very strange, but 3/4 of a second between Speedy and DeChal. DeChal actually looking to the inside at turn 1, and that's going to compromise Speedy quite a bit. Of course, DRS still activated, so Speedy going to have to try and dump ERS to pull it back to within DRS range. He will by the time they get to the end of the straight. So Gumball not quite dropping Speedy Gunner yet, but DeChal almost giving Awesome Gumball the chance to run away. Of course, that gap going to be closed up. Luke to Red in a 3-way fight as they go 3 wide up the hill. It's Alcoholic on the inside. 3 wide into turn 4 is a terrible idea, and Alcoholic Husky paying the price there of making it as he seemed to be the one who made it 3 wide, and he's going to drop right down the order. He's going to fall all the way to 19th. Not quite sure what happened there, but we saw it was definitely 3 wide into turn 4, and you certainly can't make that work. Very difficult as Stratting now pulled up to the fight for 4th. But again, it's really looking like it's going to be this top 3 fight. It's going to be a question of how long can Speedy Gunner keep hold onto the rear of Awesome Gumball's Mercedes, who we saw was super dominant in that qualifying session, and especially in the wet, which we do, I believe, expect to come a little bit later on in the race. Of course, jumping on board, no sign of clouds as of yet, so still certainly a lot of time. here on lap number 7, but battle behind Kendricks finds a way past Jonah. Here comes Seabird looking to the inside as Speedy Gunner receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits. Can Formula Jonah once again do that little switcheroo as he now has DRS. Kendricks, though, absolutely dumping that battery to stay out in front. He will hold advantage over Jonah, who's actually going to be dived by that V-carb. The Alpine, though, slow up, so 3 wide. Here comes Seabird around the outside, so he'll now take P4 as Kendricks running a little bit wide out to the gravel, compromised him. So now Seabird takes some time to lead, and you can see Husky Gaming really struggling to hold on to that Kick Sauber in that background. Stray Dog running a little bit wide. He'll receive a 3-second in that battle with R Stratting. Once again, it's a big 5-car chain back to P9 in this battle total battle for P4. Meanwhile, up at the front, Awesome Gumball still holding comfortable lead over Speedy Gunner. I think really just trying to manage this race. Just hold on to that lead and keep it going. But still racing rather comfortably. Of course, up again into T4. Husky goes down the inside of Stray Dog, who's now going to be boxed in. Stratting on his inside. So Stratting looking to take advantage of that move. Going to have to slot in behind the Williams, though. He's going to look back to the inside as they make the run down into turn 4. Is he going to look to make the move into 2? Not quite going to get that move there. Viperize saying they need to hurry up, I believe. Viperize being annoyed that he's being held up. But once again, this multi-car battle for 4th, led once again by Seabird, who now has the advantage of that clean air. DeChal, meanwhile, still holding on to the back of Speedy Gunner and Gumball, as Viperize is the next recipient of a track limits penalty. Of course, with everything starting to slow down a little bit, let's take a quick look at the position change. Stratting up, of course, up 11 spots, so great start from him. Breakfast King up 9. And the top 3 are as they began. Stray Dog, another 3-second time penalty for track limits, so I believe that puts him at 6. But here comes Jonah down the outside, this time of DeChal. He'll actually let off, try and make sure he gets DRS down that back straight. He'll still look around the outside, so they'll go side by side through turn number 3. But it's going to be DRS open on Jonah's car, and perfect strategy there from the Kick Sauber, though Seabird not done with the fight yet. He's going to look around the outside. Jonah going to have to get really tight. So Seabird, of course, still with that advantage. Jonah, though, inside here, going to be outside over the next 2 corners. So Seabird going to be able to lock it in. Yes, he will as he goes back down the inside. So great little defense there from Seabird. Now, how much battery did he have to dump here on lap number 9 in order to stay out in front is going to be a big question. DeChal, meanwhile, bit of an issue that last lap. He's actually dropped back off of this battle between Speedy Gunner and Gumball, so now becoming a 2-horse race. And there are those mediums starting to take their toll. But meanwhile, still a 5-way battle here for 4th. Actually, it was a 6-way battle, or was it a 6-way battle for 4th briefly? But at Seabird, Jonah, Kendricks, Stratting, Husky all on it. Stray Dog was in that fight. He's fallen off towards the back, so he's fallen towards Viperize, who's going to be looking to get it done. Who, of course, has Breakfast King and Luke 2 Red right on him. But Formula Jonah looking down the inside once again. Is he going to have DRS this time? Jonah actually going to have to take to the grass. Looked to be pinched a little bit from Seabird. He's going to take a mega inside line 3 wide down in there. Kendricks with a big send down the middle. He's actually going to go into the gravel. So Kendricks, big send there, not able to get it stopped. Stratting now up into 6th. Kendricks, though, after looking to make that move for 4th, is going to drop back to 7th. Husky Gaming now giving him pressure. Here on lap number 10, it's been a massive, massive brawl here between these 5 to 6 drivers throughout the entirety of this race. And, of course, it has let those front 3 really just pull away. But big from them to kind of keep on rolling. As Stray Dog actually first driver into the pits, so he thinks those medium tires are done. So what's the play here from the Williams? No damage on that front wing, so just a tire change. Looks to be going for hards. A bit of a slow stop. Actually, really slow to get back underway. Stray Dog actually going to retire from the session, so Stray Dog out. Not entirely sure what happened there. But Stray Dog, first DNF of the session. when he was running rather well up in the top 10. I guess, again, battling here once again. Stratting up into 6th, battling with Seabird. Jonah, as we were taking a look at Stray Dog there, got up into 4th. So now he'll have the benefit of the clean air. Making his way here through Sector 2. But now here, Jonah comes up over the hill with a half a second edge. Gumball still, though, comfortably keeping that gap at around 6/10, and I think Speedy just comfortable to sit in there as the rain has started to fall. So perhaps that's why Stray Dog went to retire, because he realized that rain was going to fall, but didn't change the tire compound. As Gumball, big slide there through turn 4. That'll give Speedy the on-track lead. As a big lockup there from the Mercedes. As I looked away, I didn't notice that the rain started to fall, so that's going to add another massive, massive wrinkle here, as the rain has started to fall. And it's later in these stints as well. Kendricks getting past R, Stratting with the assistance of DRS. Cars all over the circuit. Seabird taking a peek to the inside of Jonah, but he currently holds on to the advantage as we hit lap number 12. So what's the call here from the leaders? We'll stay on board with them. Of course, keep an eye on that timing tower. There's a Williams seating way. Neither leader here opting to dive into the pit lane. They'll both stay out here in the early stages. It'll be the back marker Williams to dive in. Gumball receives a 3-second time penalty, so now it is a race for the lead. DeChal stays out. So now the question comes to this chase pack. What do they choose? Jonah, I believe, Jonah will dive into the pits. Will anybody follow him? So Jonah going to be diving into the pits. Kendricks going to dive into the pits. DRS disabled, apologies. So Kendricks and Jonah may have picked the perfect time here to dive into the pits for a fresh set of tires. Here comes Viperize and Breakfast King and Luke to Red and Alcoholic. Jim into the pits. M Requiem has gone to inters. As you can see, that rain falling harder. Will stay on board with Formula Jonah as he slaps on those inters. Has everybody correctly opted for inters? I believe so. As you can see, those green tires flashing up on everybody's car. Breakfast King needs a change of front wing, so we'll have to see what happens. Speedy Gunner and Awesome Gumball still have that lead, but how much time will they lose staying on slicks on a track that is clearly being wetter and wetter, as Speedy Gunner really fighting that car as they trundle their way around? Formula Jonah now, 8 seconds, is gonna has a massive advantage on the next car on inters of Kendricks, and he's chasing down Strakosaur very, very quickly. Look at that gap coming down, already down to 1.5 seconds through the traction zone. The Mercedes gonna actually go into the gravel. Jonah gets out very close to him, very close to an incident there. But of course, Jonah gonna pick up loads and loads of time. So the Kick Sauber timing that move absolutely to perfection, led that pack down into the end of that lap and dove into the pits right as DRS is disabled, which really is that sign that the track is ready for intermediate compound tires. And of course, everybody in front of him now having to dive into the pits. So how much time will Jonah gain? Of course, the leaders are coming out of the pits now, so it's not going to be a massive advantage for Jonah, but he's already up into 5th. He's up into 4th. So he'll jump right into a battle with DeChal. And of course, those inners are already up to temperature. So Jonah, how big of an advantage is he going to end up with? It's going to be a massive advantage. Kendricks is about 8 seconds back and was at the tail end of that fight. So potentially some damage to be fixed there for Kendricks. But Husky was in that fight as well. So it's about an 11 or 12 second gain for Formula Jonah there by opting to pit at the perfect time. And of course has closed up to DeChal very comfortably. But now it's Speedy Gunner with the lead in intermediate conditions. But we saw how good Awesome Gumball's Mercedes is in these intermediate conditions as the track will continue to get wetter. As Luke to Red out of the session, that's on the backstretch. Actually, no, that's a manual retirement. So that should not bring out the safety car, but Speedy Gunner now with a second advantage. But we saw, again, as I was saying, we saw how much quicker Gumball is on those intermediates. And so with 22 laps left to go, it's going to be a tall order for Speedy Gunner to try and keep Awesome Gumball behind. DeChal, meanwhile, comfortably in 3rd, though Jonah can see him up ahead and has that shot at chasing him down. Meanwhile, that battle for 4th has now become a 3-way battle for 6th. Seabird leading the pack now ahead of Husky Gaming and R Stratting. Viperize coming up to the tail of this field as well. as he continues his recovery drive. Alcoholic Husky, of course, caught up in an incident as well. He currently sits 11th, looking to chase down Breakfast King, and of course has the advantage of no time penalties as of right now, and just 2 DNFs as it stands. So we'll have to see how this race continues, especially as this track continues to get wetter. So you can see just how much more comfortable these 2 leaders are on those intermediate compound tires. DeChal continues to fall off of that pack. Meanwhile, Formula Jonah, that gap was at 3 seconds. DeChal with a bit of a mistake there. Jonah's picked up half a second. Kendricks, meanwhile, was sitting about 8 seconds to Jonah. He's picked up about 0.2. So it certainly could be interesting. And could that Kick Sauber potentially be on the podium? And could we see even more changeable conditions as this race continues? Meanwhile, the leaders running into turn 1 once again, half a second in it between the 2. As they make their way up and over the hill. Of course, no DRS. So going to have to be a standard overtake. Breakfast King, 3-second time penalty for track limits. So he's going to lose that extra time, and Speedy Gunner can hold on to the lead. Of course, without DRS, very difficult to overtake. Not impossible, but you really got to manage your ERS right if you want to get that done, as we could see a big fight for the rest of the race, because it's really, really difficult to get that move done, especially with how hard it is, even in dry conditions, to overtake in the middle of the track, that you got to give that little bit extra space. On that little bit you have to lift off, could be a big, big loss. Meanwhile, battle for 6, Seabird still holding out in front. Strakasaur past the AI of Oreo African, so that's for 13th. We'll also take a look at the leader gap as well as penalties. So, as of right now, Speedy Gunner and Gumball, as it stands, those 3-second penalties don't really matter all too much. Viperize, of course, 3 seconds, but that's irrelevant with a 6-second time penalty behind him in Breakfast King. Alcoholic Husky, though, could prove a threat to him as they battle for P10. As M Requiem retires from the session, that's going to bring out a virtual safety car. As where did that Mercedes went off at the final corner, so we'll try to see it as we come through with the Alpine of Kendricks, so slightly neutralizes the race. So we will not see that Williams, but I assume it just kind of lost traction and went into the wall. So virtual safety car here on lap number 17. As we look to get back underway. Hopefully before too much longer, but that'll give Speedy Gunner just that extra little advantage. But of course now drive-through is potentially a concern, as some Gumball actually having to check up, because Speedy Gunner, that was certainly questionable. Jim, though, drive-through penalty from 12th, so his race certainly over. Seabird and Husky getting a good battle. Husky getting a great restart. He's going to move up into 6th. And Awesome Gumball just having to get hard on those brakes. Lost that car. Here comes Seabird looking around the outside. The Kick Sauber looking to pinch him all the way to that outside, and is going to hold on to the space. So good overtake there, but can the cutback get done by Seabird as they make their way down the hill? They're going to be side-by-side once again, but it's going to be Husky Gaming with that inside line. Can he hold on? He's going to slide that Kick Sauber right up in front, and now it's Husky Gaming with the advantage. But again, the battle's really starting to spread out here. You know, Breakfast King and Alcoholic going at it. Seabird, Stratting, Viperize going at it, with Husky leading that pack. But throughout the rest of the field, it's really just spread out here as the rain has continued to fall. Of course, Gumball certainly has the pace to catch Speedy Gunner as we hit the halfway point. So still plenty of time left to go. Alcoholic, meanwhile, finding a way past Breakfast King briefly, but he had to try to go to the outside. So we'll see if he can maximize that exit and that little bit of slipstream. Going to continue to look for that outside move as Breakfast King goes hard to defend the inside. Going to squeeze the Red Bull to the outside of the track. So who's going to be braver on the brakes and on the throttle? Breakfast King still with the advantage. Is going to cut it to the inside, but Husky having to go wide. Can he keep it side by side to get the inside advantage? As he moves up into P10, gets that move done, though not completely clear the outside. Going to lose that back end slightly, but still to get that move done. Breakfast King takes a peek to the inside, thinks better of it, though. So Husky up into 10th on track. Jonah, meanwhile, is closed up very quickly to the back of DeChal's car, down to a second and a half now. Also, Awesome Gumball has closed up rather quickly once again. That gap was up to about 4 seconds. Now it's down to a second and a half. But again, I think the question becomes, how much ERS has the Mercedes had to use? He's sitting at about 50%. Speedy Gunner, though, at about full. So that's going to be the big question here, and that's going to be Speedy's biggest advantage with half the race left to go. Stratting a 3-second time penalty for track limits, so I believe that's his first. So that gives Husky a nice advantage. He's also broken away from that battle now for 7th. There's Viperize to the inside. Contact between the two as Viperize going very much to the inside in the run down to turn 4. He's actually going to keep that Aston Martin to the outside. Going to be able to get it past Stratting, who didn't have a great exit. It's going to look to the inside. But good move there from Viperize. He continues his recovery drive, and he's up to P7. Jonah, meanwhile, now right on the gearbox of DeChal, going to look to try and clear him as quick as possible. Gumball has also gotten up to the back of Speedy, so we'll jump to that battle in just a second as the Mercedes continues to close up. But Jonah a little bit wide there, potentially gaining an extra track limits warnings. It's a bit finicky once you get out to that sausage curb. But Jonah taking a peek to the outside, going to hold back. DeChal defends in the run-up to turn 3. Jonah looking for that switchback on the exit. Again, very tricky conditions here at the Red Bull Ring. 4/10, so DeChal pulling away once again, so able to defend for now. We saw how well Jonah was at attacking with that DRS as Viperize getting past Stratting. Going around the outside. Can he hold on to that advantage? Husky has managed to pull away out front. The Seabird looking to the outside as he's kind of just continued to fall here, though has certainly been racing hard. It's Viperize out ahead. Meanwhile, for the lead, Awesome Gumball still closing up on Speedy Gunner. Half a second now. ERS actually flipping now, as it's Gumball with the added advantage to ERS. So how much does Speedy intend to use? And when does Gumball intend to make that move for the lead of this race? Still lots of time left to go. Jonah closing up on DeChal. He's looking to the inside as they make the run up into turn number 3. Of course, going to have to be brave on the brakes. He gets it side by side. DeChal going to keep him tight and going to have the better exit here in the tricky conditions. But who's going to be more aggressive? Jonah closing. Of course, they got the ghosted back marker there in the fight as well. Jonah, though, going to have the inside down into turn 4. Is going to have it done. Going to lose the back end a little bit. Not going to be able to slide it out to defend DeChal, though, which means he'll have the outside. Going to cut it tight. Really try and minimize that distance. Try and get the advantage there. Still side by side as they continue. They remain side by side, and DeChal finally, I think, backing out there, getting on the brakes, and that might be the advantage Jonah needed. He will take P3, so it's Jonah up to the podium. Meanwhile, in that battle for the lead, it's 4/10 in it between Gumball and Speedy. Gumball still holding off, making Speedy use as much ERS as he can. He's just looking for that time when Speedy opens up the door and he can slide it through. Lap 22 of 36 here in Austria, but again, good exit from Speedy to keep it out in front. Jonah now going to have to be the one to defend up into turn 3. Here comes DeChal. He's going to look to the inside in much the same way Jonah did. Again, going to be hard on the brakes, but going to back off of it there as he thought better of it. And that'll give Jonah an extra advantage and a chance to open up that gap. But again, really a two-horse race here out at the front. There's a 20-second gap to the rest of the cars. Big strategy play by Formula Jonah during the pit stop phase has allowed him to really hold position and even move up further as he jumped from like a 5-car battle for P4 and are now holding on to P3. But it's clear Gumball has a lot of time towards the end of the lap, so if he wants to get Speedy Gunner, he's going to have to do it early. We may be looking at a very challenging T1 move especially in these conditions. But here he comes. He's closing. That's down to 2/10. So could we be looking at a move for the lead here? He goes Speedy, defends the inside. So Awesome Gumball going to have to take that outside route within a 10th. Who's going to be braver? Speedy going to be braver on the big brace. Try to get that block. Gumball, though, potentially looking at the exit. And Aston Martin off. That's Viperize off. Will stay with the battle for the lead. 3/10, 2.5 2/10. Speedy looking to continue to defend hard. Gumball not able to find a way past. Here comes DeChal taking another peek to the inside. I think potentially just trying to looking to put Formula Jonah off. This, of course, is allowing Kendricks back into the fight. He's closed up very quickly to both DeChal and Jonah. The gap was about 8 seconds up to Jonah from Kendricks at the start of this wet stint. It's now closed down all the way to about 2 seconds. Husky Gaming, of course, on the chase. Stratting has managed to pull clear of Seabird, so he's now comfortably in 7th. Though that might have been due to the incident with Viperize, and that also puts Alcoholic up into 9th. But up for the lead, once again, it's going to get tight. And so Gumball, I think, going to look to go back on the attack now. So again, how aggressive does he want to be? There's still lots of racing left to go. So how much does Gumball want to use here? Not looking to be super aggressive right now. I think, again, just really looking to, make a Speedy let Speedy kind of pull him along, let him burn ERS, stay out in front, keep it close, and we could be seeing a move in the closing stages, but, certainly going to be challenging for him to get through. This Viperize now continuing to struggle. I think those inters starting to get overheated as Viperize, just really struggling to keep hold of that car. You can see it sliding all over the place as he continues to fall down the order. I think tire temps, big issue for Viperize here as he continues to fall down the order. Once again, just Awesome Gumball closes up very contrarily to Speedy over those last couple of corners and gets a good run out of the final corner and up into turn number 1. Hamilton receives a 3-second time penalty for track limits, but it's just that run down into turn 4 where Speed Gunner just seems to have that slight advantage and really makes it work. So here it comes again, up into turn number 3. Again, just looking to hold back for right now. Formula Jonah, meanwhile, has dropped the Chull, so Formula Jonah comfortably out in front. Over 2-second gap to the car behind. Now he's just looking at DeChal and Kendricks to hopefully have a good battle and give him that little bit of extra time, as at the end of this lap it will be 11 to go. So about 33 more chances for Gumball at this point in the race to try and make that move for the win. Can he get it done? Of course, again, both these drivers really in a league of their own right now. 23.8 seconds is the gap behind. But it's going to come down to 2. Of course, both drivers pretty even on ERS. As actually Gumball receives another 3-second time penalty. So is that the nail? Is that the dagger? That makes Gumball really start to think about starting to drop the hammer and put all of the pressure on Speedy. As with that extra 3-second time penalty, that's going to force him to start really piling that pressure on if he wants to win this race. Towards the back, DeChal continues to defend from Kendricks. Husky and Seabird have now rocked up to the show. Kendricks looking down the inside into turn 1. He'll get fully clear and ahead. Yellow flag in sector 2. That's for Viperize again, who just has not been able to control that car in these tricky conditions. But once again, we got a multi-car battle for P4. As Husky Gaming and Stratting places Husky down the inside. A little bit of contact there, a little bit of banging wheels, but both cars seemingly okay as they'll remain side by side. But back up in this fight for the lead. The rain continues to become harder and harder. So it's just going to become trickier as Viperize retiring from the session. That is in the pits, so no safety car here. Good exit there from Gumball. But yeah, this rain continuing to get harder. And I think these drivers are just going to manage their cars at this point, but could that be a sign that we're approaching wet compound territory? As Speedy Gunner, 3-second time penalty for track limits, so we're racing for the lead. Once again, 2/10, the gap a 1/10.5. Here comes Gumball. Are we going to see a move here? No, not quite. It's going to be about 1/4 of a second in it. Is there really nose to tail here? Here they come, powering out. Can it be a good exit from Gumball? A little bit of a slide there, so he's going to lose a chunk of time. And that's going to allow Speedy Gunner to hold on to that edge. Here on lap number 27, so continues to defend. Does Speedy Gunner. So, Awesome Gumball just searching to find any way past the Red Bull as they once again navigate another back marker. Kendricks, meanwhile, still trying to hunt down Formula Jonah, who's got a comfortable gap behind. Rostamol with a 3-second time penalty for track limits. But it's now become, now a three-way battle for fifth as Stratting and Husky looking to find a way past the Chal. Of course, coming down the pit straight now, the rain incredibly heavy now, so I think we're certainly approaching wet weather territory. Wet weather tire territory, apologies. But that's just going to, I think, put it more and more in Gumball's favor, as we saw that he had about a half a second a lap advantage in those wet conditions in qualifying. So as these cars continue to get lighter, will he continue to have that same advantage is going to be the big question. Half a second is the advantage, so he's got to get that move done before turn 3. Is Speedy Gunner just too comfortable on the exit there? And that's going to be the question. How does Awesome Gumball get this move done? Because he's got to get it done at turn 3 as Alcoholic Husky makes his way past Seaberg, so up into P8. So he's still got some time penalties to manage, but still working on it. Strakasaur, a 3-second time penalty for track limits as well. But how will these drivers continue to manage these tricky conditions? 8 laps to go. Next time cross the line. Awesome Gumball closing up very quickly, and Speedy Gunner having to go defensive. Actually, both drivers diving into the pits, so both drivers having the same idea. They think it's wet weather time. They're going for the wet weather tires, so that's going to be a big question here now as well. Are wet compound tires the play here with just a couple of laps left to go? And who's better? Actually, it's inters. It's new inters for both drivers. Both drivers going to new intermediate tires. They think those tires aren't going to last. Formula Jonah stays out. Does anybody else behind them elect to come in? The Haas of R Stratting will dive into the pits. So is the pit stop worth it for those leaders to get that fresh set of tires, even though their temps are going to be lower? Because now penalties going to come into play. Formula Jonah, of course, those inters are going to be up to temperature, where the cars up at front will not be. So is grip the question for Speedy and Gumball diving into the pits with just a couple of laps left to go? Because now it's a 1-second gap between the two. Speedy Gunner picking up a lot of time in that pit stop phase. Formula Jonah, of course, not too far off the back of them. He's a total of a 1.5 seconds back. But now does Jonah have a chance at the win? Going to be a big question here. Stratting getting past Strakasaur rather comfortably. He has opted for the wet compound of tire. Yellow flag in Sector 2. That's for a McLaren giving way. But certainly a big surprise that neither of the leaders, both deciding to pit, neither opting for that wet compound tire, though they are comfortably now pulling away from Jonah, so that gap should be rather comfortable now. But who's going to be better on the new tire? Again, Awesome Gumball, we saw a 1/2 second advantage. Is that going to be enough to get by? Running up to turn 3 again. Gumball not making that move. Not able to get it signed and delivered. So that gap going to grow out again, and that's largely just because you have to wait to get that car turned, and you can't really, because there's that car in front of you, you have to be delayed just that little bit. And Gumball with another 3-second time penalty, jumping the curb there at turn 4. So once again, he's going to have to really dial up that pressure. Now it's critical that he get past Speedy Gunner, or at least put him under pressure even more than he has been. He's got to get by. He's got to make a Speedy Gunner make a mistake. 2/10, a tenth and a half. He's not going to make that move, though. He's still going to hold back. Also seems that those wet compound tires not doing the trick for stratting. Yellow flag in the middle sector, again, just for a back marker giving way. Running up the hill to turn 1, 3/10 the gap. Gumball really needs to get that move done soon. Could this be the time? 3/10 the gap and closing. Tucks in. The Speedy Gunner seemingly deploying a lot of ERS in that run up the hill. 2/10 is Gumball still holding back. Not going to make that move. The issue is just because of how much time Speedy Gunner is gaining mid-corner at turn 3, that move at turn 4 just isn't opening up for Gumball. And I think he's also concerned, hey, if I make that move at T3, especially if I'm trying to go down the inside, that'll give Speedy Gunner the chance to go around the outside, get that better exit, and get that move done. That'll be 5 to go this time, cross the line. And at this point, Awesome Gumball has to get it done because that half a second a lap advantage, not going to be enough with 5 laps left to go. He's really got to, put Speedy Gunner under threat now. And he's got to get that move done because the chances are dwindling. Of course, a number of other battles out on track, but we're, of course, staying with this one for the win. Half a second is the advantage. Yellow flag out at Sector 3, and that's actually going to bring out a virtual safety car. It's actually going to be a full safety car. So the back marker of Hamilton crashing now has added a whole new layer to this race. As it says virtual safety car up top, but there's a full safety car out on track, so that's just going to make it a big shootout. Rostamol speeding in the pit, so his race completely over. But that brings Jonah. Jonah is going to be the big winner here. We'll, of course, be guaranteed to get underway by, I believe, lap 30. You will certainly get underway for lap 35, so we'll at least get 2 laps of racing. But that Ferrari crashing is potentially just gifted Jonah, Kendricks, or DeChal a chance at a big victory here at a very, very wet Austrian Grand Prix. Number drivers diving into the pits for wets. Breakfast King into the pits for wets. R-Stratting followed him in for wets. Strakasaur into the pits. He's stuck with inters. So a couple of sets of new tires. Jim diving into the pits. Does he think those wets will work? And of course the leaders can't really afford to dive into the pits here. Of course they do have the fresh set. Jonah opts to stay out. But it does look like, with the exception of Rostamol, all the top 10 will be in a line. Jonah stays out. Kendricks dives into the pits, as does DeChal, Husky, Alcoholic. Sievert dives into the pits. So if I were to guess, I think we're going to get back underway right at lap 35. Fresh inters for most of the field. DeChal opting for wets. Husky opting for wets. Alcoholic opts still for inters. Seabird opts for wets. Will he hold on to that track position? He will. Though, of course, that McLaren of Rostamol is going to break up. So it's going to be the top 7 all in a line when we look to get back underway. But it is going to be Speedy Gunner, Gumball, and Jonah. Your top 3. Jonah with the net lead. Kendricks in a great spot in 4th. But we'll only have 2 or 3 laps of racing left to go. Once we get back underway. And of course, again, definitely a good time to take a look not only at penalties but position changes. I think driver of the day certainly going to come down to Breakfast King or R-Stratting. Jonah's had a great race. Jonah's going to dive into the pits, so regretting that decision to get off that compounded tire. He's going to dive into the pits, try and get that done, and come out in a good spot. And she should still benefit despite having those penalties. And Jonah's actually tying that fuel to perfection right at that 3-lap mark. So we'll stay on board with Jonah, see where he comes back out. He's going to have to hustle that car out. He's certainly going to come out behind Kendricks. Will he come out ahead of both Huskies and Seabird? Here he comes out of the pits. Jim retiring from the session, so his day is done. And Jonah actually still timing that up very nicely, allowing Husky Gaming to pit, but still coming out in fourth, so he'll have a shot to go at Kendricks for the win. What tires did he pick is the question. He opted for inners, so he'll have the freshest tires on the field. But we should get back underway this lap. So who will come out with the race win here? As safety car should be in this lap, regardless of who comes in. Yeah, safety car is in this lap. So Speedy Gunner has control. So it'll be 2 laps of racing. Yeah, Seabird, Breakfast King, Stratting looking to try and close up to this field. Speedy Gunner trying to keep a hot pace. But we'll stick with Kendricks as the net leader. So what's going to happen here in the closing 2 stages of this race after the crash by the back marker of Hamilton? Here they come through the final couple of corners now. Seabird and Breakfast King going to be in a great spot as well, as they will get a great little rolling start. And so we're back underway. It's Kendricks with a comfortable lead. Of course, Formula Jonah going to be right there. DeChal, Husky Gaming, all right behind them on wet tires, though it seems to be a bad choice as that rain has really lightened to nothing. Here comes Formula Jonah looking at Kendricks, right tucked in behind him. It's going to stay put for now, though, as they make the run up into turn number 3. The battle between Kendricks and Jonah. Now the net battle for the win on track. Husky Gaming finds a way past DeChal, though he still has that time penalty. Just looking to take the pressure off of his teammate. As the 2 at the front try and battle for a win. And of course, Speedy Gunner and Awesome Gumball try to make a bit of a breakaway. But we certainly don't think there's enough time to open up the gap that is required, though they're already up to a second. They would need about 6 to 9 here, so they need a miracle. And Formula Jonah, 1 lap left to go. Can he get that move done? It's down to 2. Battling in 3rd and 4th. Of course, Jonah putting himself in this position because of a great strategy call. He's looking to the inside early. He's not going to get it done into the final 2 corners. Alcoholic up into 6th. He gets past DeChal. But here we go. Final lap of this race. Speedy Gunner and Awesome Gumball certainly going to have some words with that Ferrari after the race. But here we go. It's half a second between Kendricks and Jonah. Of course, neither are penalized, so still lots of time left to go. Yellow flag in sector 3, though it doesn't matter. Though Kendricks opening up that gap, really trying to dump all of the ERS he can right now. 6/10 the gap. Kendricks looking to break that toe to the inside as they run up the hill. Alcoholic up into 5th. He's battling side by side with the kick Sauber of Husky Gaming as they continue to battle. Though, of course, that's P5 on track. It's 8/10 is the advantage now. So Kendricks finding that pace, dropping the hammer, and he's looking to now pull away. Alcoholic drops down to 7th as he got a really poor exit there against the wet tires of the other 2 drivers. But Kendricks dropping, really putting that foot to the floor out of that back straight. Has he been able to get that move done here? 2/10 the gap. So Jonah really trying to close in the final stages of this race. That's for the win. So Jonah with lots more downforce. 1/10, 10th and a half, 1.8. Kendricks going to heavily defensive. Jonah looking for any sort of move. Kendricks, big defense there. 1 corner left to go. Who's going to have it as they come out of the exit of that corner? It's going to be a 3/10 advantage. It's going to be Kendricks across the line to win in Austria. It's going to be Jonah 2nd, Speedy Gunner 3rd, DeChal after penalties in 4th, and his V-Carb teammate of Seabird recovers nicely to finish 5th. Husky Gaming finishes 6th, followed by Awesome Gumball, who led a large part of this race, but those track penalties and that final safety car really coming back to bite him. Alcoholic Husky finishes 8th, Strakasaur in 9th, Breakfast King 10th, LSR Stratting in 11th, just out of the points. Guardian Knight, Oreo African, and Rostamol round out your finishers. So certainly a very challenging race for a number of these drivers. But congratulations to Kendricks to come home with the win. Of course, you got Jonah in 2nd. Of course, some words going to be had with the Ferrari driver crashing out, causing that big change in the race. But Of course, with the rain lightning, driver of the day does go to Kendricks. So, of course, congratulations on that win. We'll, of course, get those full results for you in just a second here. But it is the Alpine celebrating on a rather moist podium. But certainly the Canadian going to be happy with that. But yeah, Kendricks taking that win from 9th on the grid, from the Jonas 2nd, followed by Speedy Gunner, T'Chall, Seabird, Husky Gaming, Gumball. Takes fastest lap as well, at least, so he walks away with 7 points. Alcoholic, Strachosaur, and Breakfast getting round out your top 10. And that is your race. But yeah, Hamilton, I think definitely going to be the question there. Jim, 4 laps down. Rostamol and Oreo, lap down. But certainly going to be an interesting one. And hopefully you'll swing by next time for more league racing action. So hopefully it's been a good hour and 45 plus now. Wow, it's been a long time. Definitely be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Would also appreciate subscribing to myself over at Vacant Haddock on YouTube. It'll be like a yellow fish logo if you are looking for the channel. Would appreciate a sub there too. And so have a great day, and we'll see you next time.